Known this guy for a long time. We were just talking about it. It's been a minute. Seen this gentleman grow from, being an MC to a very well-known DJ to one of the dopest producers in the game. One night he might be out in Dubai spinning for Rick Ross. The next minute he's in a hood spot open, with Dave East and everything, literally everything in between, Sirius Satellite Radio. So much great shit, man. So proud of this dude for what he's accomplished over the last couple years. Happy as my brother, Scram Jones. Scram Jones.
Thank you.
About to call you Scram Beats.
Thank you. Scram Beats, I'll take it.
Scram Beats. We were just talking about Nipsey too. We got the sweatshirt on.
Yes, sir.
Have a seat right there. All right, man. So as we start these up, we always got to play a couple records, you know what I'm saying? Make sure everybody knows. You ready for
Yeah.
Is it a record? I just tell it out. Don't play a couple records. And I always play my favorite records from the producers that I interview. I don't play just the popular ones. I play the ones that I like. So these are my favorite joints. So let me know if you know these records.
Ready on the left. Ready on the right.
Yo, VR, what up, my dude?
What up? Okay.
Yo, kick that thing and take it in the studio.
Yeah, yo, what that joint? Round town, I'm bound, shake the ground, shake the town. Wave the pound, lays it down.
Black Rob.
Yo,
Rest in peace.
Scram Jones, I see you, baby. Yeah. Yo, round town, I'm bound, shake the ground, shake the town. Wave the pound, lays you down. And that's how we approach these faggots. Trying to grow up these fly, but they still maggots. I'm sure all I gotta do is call my man. 40 cal, watch yourself. I'll spoil your plans. I'm the uptown gangster, the star in the hood. One of the few motherfuckers that ain't scared of shook. Man, that was 9-5, man, fuck the past. See niggas out there frontin' bodyguards up the ass, man. Yeah, man.
Is that okay?
Y'all know how I'm coming through the Source Awards.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Remy.
You see the girl get the poppin' like no other. Now they go the streets 'cause I be on the block and I'm so good. My flow ain't butter. These rap got a whole lot of game, but none of y'all lame dudes don't fuck. I'm on some chill shit, but if you frontin', then I will flip. I give it to a little chick real real. Oh, you a real bitch? You ain't a bit real. You got skills to your face look like in the tail. First I'ma get it hot, then I'ma get it real.
That must have been a crazy sample for you, though, huh?
Yeah, we'll take everything.
Yeah. Come on, man. We got anybody from Queens in the building? Anybody from Queens? All right, so y'all know who Nims is? Yes, sir. The boy Nims. My man Scram has pretty much been attached to Nims' hip for the last good grip, man. Doing some great records. Put a great album out, what was it, end of last year?
Yep.
End of last year? This is one of the joints off of there called Blicky. Oh, that's not it. Hold on.
Yo, get over here, you fucking right, dickhead. All that shit talking on the gram finally's catching up with you. I really just know with you. What's in your fucking pockets?
Don't never disrespect me. Looking like a fucking Gumby with black hair.
Shit out you right now. What's your bust your shit? You a punk ass bitch. I'ma dump this clip. Put this gun on your lips. Let you run like a bitch. You a motherfucking snitch. Real ones don't switch if you ever catch me slip. Everybody getting hit. You know what the fuck it is, homie? Run that shit. What the fuck you talking about?
All right, Nims is a little vulgar, so we'll leave it at that.
That was an ill choice.
Word. I just want to make sure they know what's going on today. But he's also worked with people like Mariah Carey. He's done a lot of extensive work with different artists. Raekwon, Lox, DMX, you know what I'm saying? He's from that heart of that, like, hip-hop scene, from Nurse Show, Mount Vernon area as well. So, man, growing up, man, obviously you kind of were a little bit of an MC at first. You still do some of that. What was your initial, I guess, dive into music in general?
I dive into music. My dad actually was a record collector, but he would play classical music.
Okay.
But he had records in the house, and he worked for Pepsi at the time, and he once had like a family picnic thing that Pepsi threw, and I went there, and it was breakdancers there, and they were going crazy. I was like 6 or 7 years old. And once I saw it, like I was just hypnotized by the breakdancing and the music. I didn't know that was hip hop music. I thought it was breakdancing music.
Okay.
And on top of that, that was when Michael Jackson was doing the Pepsi commercial tour.
So yeah.
So my intro probably was those breakdancing records. I remember my first 3 records. I had a Fisher Price. He got me a Fisher Price turntable, literally.
What you know about that? Fisher Price turntables.
So
and all
my
that.
first 3 records were Michael Jackson Thriller, Electric Breakdance, which was like a compilation of breakdancing records. Had Jam on it, had like Herbie Hancock Rocket, and then Breaking Soundtrack. So and I would just listen to them and try to flip and spin on my head. And I was a bad breakdancer, but I would just be a spaz and just go crazy. That was my intro.
Okay. We got breakdance in the bill. We got the linoleum. We'll break it out a little later. You know what I'm saying? Me and you could battle.
That's the early, like, elementary school.
Right. When did you start getting into the actual process, like writing rhymes and getting more on the lyrical side of things?
I always used to write. I remember handing in essays as poem forms. Like, I just used to like to rhyme words. Like, it was just something in me that I used to love to do. Later on, when I started DJing, I was 15 in 10th grade. I got my first turntables, and not realizing one of the reasons I got the turntables is because I was always a big music collector. So I had all, so many cassettes, so many CDs. I'd beg my mom to go to the Wiz or go somewhere every week. Anytime, please, can I get in, when Your TV Raps came out, it was like incredible. Like, I taped everything. I needed everything. So I just lost my train of thought. I didn't sleep.
I was saying, when did you start like getting into the lyrical side of it and start writing rap?
Right. Yeah, so just after school, people would come by and we would all freestyle, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. And I realized, and I would record myself on a 4-track, and I realized I want to make beats. I want these to be original. So later on, a year or 2 after I graduated, I got my first MP, and then I produced my first single like in '99. I try to be like the triple threat, like DJ, do the scratches, do the rapping, do the beats. And that was kind of my thing when I got into the game.
Nice. What was the first placement for you that actually made you think like, okay, I could really do this, and production is not a bad choice to go towards?
So it actually was the Far Side, and I never met them or anything. The guys that were managing me after college had a label that the Far Side was signed to, and they needed a remix.
Oh yeah, I read about that in that recent interview.
Yeah. So I went to my friend's house. I made a quick beat on a keyboard. Wasn't even a great beat. Handed it in the next day. They took it and gave me like 5 G's right there. And I said, how old was I? I don't know, 19 years old. And I said, this is crazy. And I just decided this is what, the rapping thing was we didn't have we couldn't upload music anymore.
Right.
I mean, yet. So it was a harder thing to you need to hit records, you needed distribution, manufacturing, this, that. So I like that lifestyle better, just to do the beats, and, it got me my first check, which helped me, get my next beat machine or keyboard.
Those 90 bags, boy. 1990 was a good year. Yeah. Good year.
And then, sorry, just to extend on that. So that was my first placement, but I was on a vinyl, Black Thought was on it, but it never really hit it was just a remix. First time I got a real placement was with Tragedy Gaddafi from Queensbridge. I met him at a party, and, I got introduced to him. He said, tomorrow, he said, I'm going to Havoc's crib tomorrow. Do you want to come with me? So the next day, I took a train to Long Island with him, went to Havoc's house. Havoc was there, but then he was out. There was some girls there. He was in and out, but we had access to a studio, and I started playing him beats, and he said, hey, I want you to do my album. So I did like 4 beats for him. And then, and Havoc jumped on one of them. And then maybe months and months later, he actually brought me to Raekwon's house because he wanted to do a song with him. And that's how I clicked with Raekwon and started doing a bunch of stuff for them. So
that's crazy. You guys see a little common thread with what Ski was talking about as well, and what Scram was talking about. It's like sometimes you get an opportunity to be in a situation where maybe you get along with somebody great. They identify you as just being a cool person and being quality with your music, and next thing you know, they share relationships with. And it was a lot easier, I think, in those eras because there wasn't as much competition per se, or at least there wasn't so much noise in the digital competition as there is now. But when you started becoming a producer and started to see that there was an income involved, what did you do? Was it investing back in your craft, getting equipment? What was like what did you start putting your money towards?
Definitely equipment.
Yeah.
Equipments were toys. You just wanted more and more toys, but also weapons in a sense.
Yeah.
So you always wanted to level up. So, I started on the MPC 2000, and I got I went to the 5,000, the 2,500. Then I have, you know, the Karma keyboard, the Triton. First I had the Trinity, then the Triton. Just buying keyboards, you know, wanted to have the Avalon for the mic, getting a better mic. It all went to equipment. And if it didn't go to equipment, it went to records because I was still DJing, you know?
Crazy. There was a clip that was on IG yesterday. I think it's been around for a couple weeks now with Eric Sermon talking about the
music record.
Yeah, the music record, and how you were originally on that record, just like music.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience. Let everybody know kind of like what's the perhaps for that.
So I actually went to college upstate, Ithaca College, and my senior year, my roommate was studying film and video, and he decided at that time, I had a bunch of us doing music together. He decided to do his final project as a video of one of my songs. So basically I did a video for my first single in college, and the video got to a lady named Carolyn Robbins that worked at Motown.
Okay.
And she gave it to Eric Sermon, and he said, bring Scram through, you know? So as a rapper, you know, as an artist. So I went to his house in Long Island, and then we just vibed. Like he kind of still had you know, I had my moment to record with him and all that, but then he had his own stuff going on, and he was cooking this beat up, which she had given him the sample for. And I was there, and then when you know, he put my name in it, you know, he said, whatever, he said, new kid in town, his name is Scram. Whatever he said my name. But then right after that, something happened between him and Carol, with the lady that gave him the sample. I don't know if it was a business thing.
Okay.
And on top of that, something happened with him personally where he kind of went off the radar. Let's just put it like that. You might remember something happened with him. So I kind of lost touch with him. And then like a year and a half later came out and my name was off it. And I was like, damn. You know, but I understood we weren't working anymore. So he took the name off.
Talk about that whole culture a lot, because obviously you're in the studio a lot with different artists, and a lot of these records don't ever see the light of day. What's that? How frustrating is that for you? Somebody who's got placements, and even as you were growing into the game, look at that.
It's very frustrating, and especially, see, I'm the type that I get excited and I might share it with somebody, and I think I've jinxed myself a few times.
Yeah.
Then there's the other side is like you want to speak things into existence, so you kind of want to say it like you have it already. So there's like two ways of thinking. So like I had a 50 Cent record, you know what I mean? And they paid me for it. I was on the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack. And a couple weeks before it, they said, Scram, and they paid me, like I just said. Then they took it off. They said, Jimmy Iovine is not on the album. Dr. Dre's not on it. And Jimmy Iovine's Maddie's not on it. So we took your record off and put a Dr. Dre record there. And you know, and that was like, I heard the record and I was just so excited. And it would have been a big money thing. It was like no sample. I did it on a keyboard with a breakbeat. So that happened, and then fast forward 2015 or something, I emailed J. Cole the beat, and I had to direct through Elite.
Yeah, Elite. Yeah.
Elite, which is one of his in-house producers. I was cool with him. Send me the direct. I send it to him. I get the response. Jermaine Cole hit me back. Oh, I love this Scram. I'm writing to it right now. Later on, I do an interview with Sway, and he's like, what do you got coming out? And I'm like, yeah, I got a J. Cole record coming out. That record never came out, basically. And I felt like an idiot. But that beat actually went on the Dave East Styles P album like years later. But it's just like yeah, good looking. So, you know, that's frustrating. And then of course, you know, working with artists that things, like I just did a whole Jim Jones album over COVID.
Oh yeah.
That's 3 years ago. We handed it in to Empire. We got paid and everything. It still hasn't come out. I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's
that's what Eric Bellinger doing,
T.I.
Eric Bellinger, that joint thing you've put out.
Yeah, everybody's Wiz Khalifa. Everyone's on the album, and I don't know. So it's like, and I was talking about it, and I'm like, Jim, what are we doing with this album? You know, but there was a couple sample problems, and you know, Dipset's not used to clearing samples, so he was actually mad at the label for doing that. He'd rather ask for forgiveness after than permission first. You know what I mean? So. Wow. He was upset about that, and then he pivoted to doing the main note stuff, and it's still gonna come out. Yeah. But that's just an example.
Yeah, that's definitely a frustrating.
It's like, yeah,
it's crazy because I used to manage a producer named Focus. You may have heard of. You know, he's one of Dr. Dre's main producers, and the stories we used to always talk about in terms of like working with all these different artists, from Eminem to Kendrick to Marsha Ambrosius, and like just putting these records together and spending hours and weeks and months putting these projects together, and eventually you're just like sitting on a desk somewhere, a desktop somewhere, and it's like not able to see the daylight. So definitely a lot of challenges in that aspect. But I think also too, sometimes, you know, there's blessings that come out of things like that, because obviously you've been able to build great relationships with a lot of these artists. You and Jim work together a lot. Let's talk about the Dave East project recently dropped on Valentine's Day. How did that even start? How did you and Dave like connect and make that happen?
Well, me and Dave go all the way back to end of 2013, beginning of 2014, when he was just on datpiff.com doing mixtapes.
I want to know about dadpiff.com. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Making sure.
So I had a friend that kept pushing me, this guy's nice,
Yeah.
he's my friend's artist. At the time he was from Queens, actually. He was staying in Queens. And finally I took the session with him and we clicked and we did about 15 records. And then we did the Straight Outta Harlem mixtape. And then that's what got Nas's ear and he got signed. I was about to sign him. I literally was in a contract with lawyers going back and forth. And then Nas swooped in the 11th hour and he's like, Scram, Nas want to sign me. And I'm like, do what you got to do. So, he did what he had to do and he had his run. And, I still DJ'd for him. I did some beats for him. But now full circle, he reached out to me to do something for First Take for the Super Bowl, actually, for Stephen Smith. He was doing a freestyle that Stephen Smith was doing like a little freestyle intro on ESPN. He said, I need a DJ behind me. So I showed up to Set Free,
Set Free, yep.
Went to his studio in Brooklyn. And, I got they got the shots. I started playing, samples and stuff. And this was like maybe a week or 5 days before Valentine's Day. And I just told him spontaneously, hey, why don't we do a quick, Valentine's thing? Just throw it out, a little 5-pack, play some classic samples. We don't have to even upload it. We'll just give it out for free. And he said he was down. So he came through the studio, knocked 3 out in one night. Next night, knocked another 3 out. And next night, knocked another 3 out. And then we fourth session, we basically finished a 10-pack, with skits. One thing I like that he wanted me to do, which I love, is like, make sure you scratch on everything. And I'm like, say less. Like, I'm scratching on R&B records, scratching the acapellas. I put little Martin skits in it, and we just threw it out there. And he told my samples. I shouldn't even say anything. But he uploaded it, and it's all samples. So I don't know what's gonna happen with it, but either way, we just did it spontaneous, and we caught a good synergy in the studio. And it's, I always told him he needs to be LL, like the girls love you. You do all these hood records, like where are the girl records? And I used to always send him R&B flips, and he record it, but he wouldn't put it on the album. So this was like an excuse for him to do those records. And, it was, people like it,
Yeah.
There's no company behind it or anything. We just uploaded it,
That's absolutely the way it should be, man. Yeah. Sounds good. Put it out. What about relationships in your career, man? Obviously you've been doing the thing for a minute, been successful. You've made relationships with a lot of different people. What's like a main relationship in your career you feel like really helped you out? You maybe take some of that advice and still kind of use it today? There's probably a lot.
Yeah, I gotta think about that one. I mean, I've been blessed to really be around a lot of legends that I've clicked with on a personal as well, which is weird because these are people that I would have like posters on my wall. Yeah. So it'd be like a Nori or a Styles P or a Jada. And these are the people I listened to in high school. So to know them personally and click with them, I always talk about my Mariah thing, that I was engineering for Nori when he was in Manhattan, and he had just signed to Rock La Familia for the reggaeton stuff. And Dame Dash came through with Mariah Carey, and he called it the Hood Lab because there was no AC, there was no furniture, there was mice running around. We all was sitting there with bubble jackets, making beats and stuff. She walks in, we're like all in shock. He got the camera out to do the DVD stuff, and I start playing beats. And she liked one of them, and I got on her Emancipation of Mimi album. I won like 3 Grammys, and so I always say, I mean, that's not a flex, but what I'm saying is, my point is, and this is just a side note, I always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And relationships is currency. So it's like the fact Nori put me in position, I had another producer friend that was upset that Nori wasn't paying him for his beats, and he burnt the bridge with Nori, you know what I mean? And I wasn't getting paid for my beats. I wasn't getting paid for engineering, but he had a traffic of people coming through there. And you want content. If you want to charge someone for a beat, you have to have a resume or something to say, hey, I made this, that. So you got to build up your resume first then you can say, hey, did you hear what I did with this guy? Even if you did it for free, at least it's documented. You've worked with credible people.
Yeah. So
I learned, that was a good lesson. And, I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of said something else. You said who taught me something. I mean,
or just what advice have they given you to kind of utilize today in today's?
Honestly, I don't know if it was a person, but something that I just learned in general is how precious relationships are, and it's about the long play, not the short play.
Yeah.
So sometimes people want that immediate money, but that relationship sometimes comes full circle even years later.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when you get the bag, you know.
Absolutely. So recently, you speaking about Nori, you were recently on Drink Champs not too long ago.
Yeah.
The legendary Grandmaster Flash
Yeah.
gave you some props. Talk about how that felt, like just
Yeah.
how it all happened.
Well, actually, Nori hit me up and said, would you want to come like be on the show with Flash? Because he knows I'm a DJ nerd and I might, you know, ask some nerdy questions, you know. So he didn't know I was already cool with Flash, so that was pretty cool. Flash, this is crazy because I met Flash, he actually came to my house. I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know the age here, but back in the days there were instrumental mixtapes by J Arms. I don't know if you remember this guy, but he was, if you ever heard of Airplane, to this day, it still comes out with this little airplane sound effect. He had all the instrumental mixtapes that all the rappers would do their freestyles to. And I'm friends with him. He was running around with Grandmaster Flash, basically holding his crates in a sense, being his assistant on the road.
It goes back.
He brought him to my house one day, and we had a little session, and I stayed in touch with him, and then he asked me to do something for his radio show for the 50th anniversary. He was choosing the DJs. I did a 20-minute set. He said he loved it. Then he said, come rock Crotona Park in the Bronx with me with all these legends. So I rocked it and he, since then he's always showed me love, calling me, you know, even his stuff with Cool Herc. I've talked to Flash for like over an hour at times because him and Herc are like the forefathers of hip hop, but they don't get along, or they didn't get along. And Herc lives in New Rochelle and would be at the barbershop, and Herc would hate, you know, they both were like, so I was actually behind the scenes listening to like, you know, getting the tea on
real hip hop
legends. When I wasn't even alive, these guys, he literally created it. So that being said, it was cool when he said, Flash, come to Drink Champs, and you know, it was great to be in front of Flash, and it just boggled my mind. I mean, it was a 4-hour Drink Champs. He came with a whiteboard, he came with notes, he came with the turntables.
Shit.
He came like a real teacher and conducted the interview and was scientific with it, drawing graphs about the records. You circulate it 6 times, it's 4 bars, this, that, how he invented the felt, invented the needle that goes both ways, invented the fader, you know, had the first MC that he said, I was bringing back the break beats so the break dancers could dance, but in that moment, I needed someone to say something. So we passed the mic to this guy, Cowboy, which is basically the first rapper, just to hype the crowd. And, you know, those little jingles turned into raps and later on turned into rap music when they recorded it. So I'm like, you really invented this whole shit. You know what I mean? You invented the DJing and the whole rapping concept and the whole sampling, you know, and not just him, but he really was the guy. And as I sat there and realized that I knew him like on the humble, and I'm thinking like, you are really like the Thomas Edison of hip hop, you know? But he's, you know, I'm blessed to know him.
Well, speaking of that, and just in general, I mean, do you ever like sit back and just like, how the fuck did I get here? Like
all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I always, when like Ski was saying, it's not really all, it is about the money because we have to pay our bills. And we want to live a certain lifestyle, this, that. But this has been my passion since a little kid. Since I saw those breakdancers, I've been addicted to hip hop, addicted to music. Not just that. I mean, I would collect rock music. I like the freestyle back in the days, you know, house music, whatever. But yeah, man, it's just crazy, man.
Well, the one thing I always appreciated about you is that you were always like, you always stayed stern about who you were, you know, musically. You know, you didn't necessarily have to follow a trend or, you know, chase radio. You always had great MCs on your shit. It was always strictly, you know, sonically prepared properly. Like you really always had a great approach to what you do. Do you see anything in today's, I guess, market when it comes to producers, what they maybe doing, you know, what kind of mistakes they're making, or what you like get frustrated about with today's producers?
I mean, it's interesting because similar to what Ski was saying, it is a business. It's the grind, and now music is made so easily and so fast. Like people, you know, these kids are making beats in 10 minutes, you know, and they'll make 30 a day and they'll send them out, and it's just like grab a loop, boom, 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 FL. You know what I'm saying? Slap the 808s, the highs, boom, send it out to this one, next one. And, you know, and I'm friends with some of these young producers and I watch them and, you know, and I respect that grind, and they actually make some dope stuff. But at the same time, you know, we came from the era of, you know, sitting and finessing it and you know, maybe getting some musical instruments, maybe putting a hook to it, you know. And I can't knock the technology, but a lot of the music, one thing I'll say is a lot of the music today doesn't have as much soul, I would say. You know, like there was a soulful feeling of hip hop back in the days, whether it was the samples or what. But now it's very, you know, I don't know how to say it, like, I don't say synthetic, but you don't feel, like you were saying, the natural swings, everything is quantized, everything's electronic. Now, as a DJ, do I love that music and all that traps? Hell yeah, it's energy. I don't even care what they're saying. I agree what they're saying is garbage half the time. And I've been in the studio and they don't even have anything written. They freestyle bar to bar, punch me in, punch me in. It doesn't matter if the rhymes, it's a melody, it's a pattern. And as you can see, you know, it's been working. But, you know, I just wish a lot of them would go back. I won't say go back in the olden days, but a lot of them don't know anything about the old hip hop or the old soul or the whole process of making like records with musicians from scratch, let's say, you know, and really finessing it. And also, I would say you're a beat maker if you make the beat, but you're a producer if you help create the song. And that's where things, the lines, you know, you see someone like a Khaled or a Puffy, and like, you know, they have produced it, and it's like, he didn't touch a beat machine. But then you got to think, this guy programmed these drums and made this, but they went and outsourced this artist, and they helped put the hook together, and they created a song. So they actually did produce the song. They didn't produce the beat.
Right.
You know, and my new thing is like, I don't want to sell beats, I want to sell records. So anytime I make a beat, I'm looking for the hook instantly before I even play for anyone. I'm thinking, you know, one of the singers, can I do something? Can I put scratches to it? And I'm more into selling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Records than just quick 10-minute beats, send it out, you know?
Yeah, no, and I think that's something that we don't talk enough about, especially when it comes to like, you know, we just kind of came out of COVID not too long ago, and these guys are all in their rooms and didn't really have the opportunity to work with other people in the same space. So the energy might have been different, the chemistry might have been different, as opposed to emailing beats versus being in the room with the people.
Right.
And I think sometimes, you know, as producers, we might overcompensate for the fact that there isn't a writer on it just yet, or there isn't an artist. They're half the song, you know, like you got to find an opportunity to put that vocalist on it. It's like actually another instrument for the most part.
Yeah,
You know
and just a side note, it's like you're talking about, you know, people, you know, I get artists, hey, email me some beats, and I'm more like, no, come to the studio.
Right. Yeah.
Because we'll pick something together. I don't know what sound you want. I'm just taking shots in the dark. It may be an unfinished idea that I can polish up later and add more instrumentation or add an intro, outro. So, you know, you send these raw ideas out, and a lot of times they don't stick because you don't know what type of time they're on and what they're looking for. But anytime I'm in the studio with someone, we always get synergy. I'll go through different ideas or see what they want, and I'll create it on the spot, or I'll find something on the spot and help them develop it. Oh, you know what I mean? Put an intro that wasn't there before, put an outro, put a hook. And though, you know, that's what I'm more into.
So when you obviously work with a lot of writers, all different genres and whatnot. What do you look for in a writer? We have a lot of writers in the room for the camp this weekend, so I want to make sure they get addressed as well. What do you look for in a writer? What's some of the things that stand out for you, aside from maybe the voice or whatever the case may be?
I mean, obviously diversity, to versatility, you know, obviously to try different ideas. But, you know, the saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So, I mean, we all know it's kind of, your voice is an instrument, you know? So it's really about how you place your voice. You know, I've worked with some of the top writers, and they don't think about lyrics right away. The second they hear the beat, before they even want to say something out loud, put the mic on, because sometimes the first melodies and ideas are the best, the most natural. And they'll freestyle, they'll mumble it, you know what I mean? And it's all about the patterns. Yeah. And once you get the patterns and melodies, then you fill in the blanks with the words. And then you could get creative with the pen and bring outside things.
Right.
But the thing is not to overstress the lyrics at first. I'm not saying don't have substance. Of course you want substance, but it's an instrument. It's like you're playing the flute, like work out the pockets for the flute, work it out, then work out the lyrics, you know, so.
And since the fact that melody is so important in today's market, you know, I think a lot of times people might just write a melody versus pay attention to the lyric, you know what I mean? So when you get a writer that understands the pocket, where to deliver it properly, how to utilize different lyrics for things that might be common, and, you know, things that like everyday words like love or sex or money, like finding cool ways to see certain things. I think when those kind of creative people get in the room, it's important. But the one thing I like what you said is it's really about finishing the record, right? Like I always tell producers and writers, like every time you make a record, you should try to finish the record. You know what I mean? Like because we have way too many beats on our hard drives. I'm sure you guys have a lot of songs and acapellas and ideas on your voice notes and stuff like that. So sometimes you got to kind of push through and finish the record.
That's true to some aspect. And the other aspect is, I get a little ADD in the studio too. I don't want to sit on one thing too long, or it's my, so I'm like, just think of the hook.
Right.
Let's just get the hook down. Once they get the hook, if they're fast with the pen, then we'll sit there and work out the verses. If it's taking too long, I'm throwing another beat on. We'll go back to that. And then we decide, are we going to finish that, or are we going to use that hook and shop that as a hook to another artist? You know what I mean? But if they're in a flow, I'm going to let them finish the record. But otherwise, I'd rather them slap as many creative ideas, because sometimes the technical and sometimes it drains you, and hours will go by, you're trying to think of one word. And I get it. Some people work linear, some people work, I'd rather knock 4 ideas out in a session. We reset our ears, we listen back, you listen to it with new ears after you reset your ear, and then you're like, oh, hold on, that doesn't sound right, or hold on, I got a new idea. That's kind of how I work.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no really right or wrong answer. I think everybody has their own idea. I just know a lot of newer producers, there's a lack of going back to the record, even to decide if you want to do that or not. So,
fact.
Especially since, again, when you're working by yourself sometimes in your house, it's like, you bouncing ideas off the fucking wall, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit more about being a triple threat, in the game, being a producer, being a writer, being a DJ. How does one help the other in your case?
Well, first of all, being a writer in my life, just even if it was just for myself or whatever, or when I used to write, write like battle raps and metaphors, and I would want every line to have a punchline or something. I'd always want to play with the words. So now that I do songwriting with people, I always still want it to be clever lyrics.
Right.
I don't want it to be generic. Let's think of a slick metaphor, to say what you're trying to say. So I try to do that. What was the question again?
How does being a DJ and a producer and a writer help?
So then the DJing aspect, when I'm in the clubs and that, the good thing is that when I run into artists at the club, it helps me when they see me DJing. They look at me a little differently, where I could actually approach them. They're not going to brush me off, because if I see, an artist the night before and I'm DJing, I could reach out to them and they're like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's helped me get relationships, because I've seen these guys in the club, and I guess I'm in a position of power when you're the DJ in the club.
Yeah.
That's helped me a lot, like running into artists while I was DJing and then doing a follow-up, rather than just being a random producer randomly hitting them up. So that's helped, Well,
also, too, I think for you purposely, because you've done it a couple times, but you've actually been able to test records as a DJ, right? Some of the records, did a record called Vogue a couple of years ago, right? With the homie Daytona. And he basically took the Vogue, Madonna thing and the Drake Vogue, and put it all together. They literally went to One Oak and played it like right then and there, you know what I'm saying, to get a vibe back from. You go to One Oak, it's like one of the hottest spots in New York. So,
and then we uploaded it, and it was taken down a week later. And that was that,
Madonna and Drake's lawyers on the phone, like, right.
But no, that's helpful, because you also want to listen to your mix and that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may not do it. I'll be honest, as a DJ, I want people to sing along to records.
Yeah.
I don't like to play too many stuff they don't know, because I want people to sing along in that.
Right.
Early in the night or at the end of the night, just to hear it on the sound system, and also see if anyone reacts. Absolutely,
Okay. You had an opportunity to be one of the last producers to work with DMX, right? Talk about that experience a little bit. Talk about the vibes that would happen.
Yeah, well, so I'm from New Rochelle, 914, DMX Yonkers. So of course he was, when you're in Westchester, New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, Yonkers are kind of all clustered. We still have the same pride. When I grew up, it was Pete Rock and CL Smooth from Mount Vernon. It was brand new being from New Rochelle. So
Heavy D.
And then of course Yonkers, the Locks, Mary, Puffy, DMX. So I was working with the Locks for a while, and actually I went to D Block and I played a beat for Chic. He put a verse to it, and he was like, we're gonna make this a Locks record. And who do you think, what should we do with the hook? And I'm like, I was like, got DMX, and right there he made a call, which was crazy, because DMX was like way off the radar.
Let's call DMX real quick. Hold on.
But he didn't even call DMX direct. He called his managers, because I don't think DMX was like good with the phone. You know what I mean? He wasn't the easiest to get on the phone, but he knew who his right-hand man was.
Right.
So he made it happen, and Jada Styles put their verses, and then he finally told me, DMX is coming through tonight, come through the studio. came through. Styles already thought of the hook because he didn't want DMX to take too long. And not to say when DMX is a genius, he could have done it himself, but just fast forward, he wanted to make sure it got done.
Right.
Styles thought of the hook. He came in, he did the hook, and that's all they really wanted because it was 3 verses and a hook. But the second DMX heard the beat, he starts writing. Everyone's like, shit.
So you tell DMX no? Like, yeah.
4 verses, you know what I mean? No one's gonna stop him, you know. But he came through with a bottle of Hennessy, smoking cigarettes. You know, I'm just saying he was about that. You know, that was his stuff. So, and he sat there about 20, 30 minutes, wrote in a piece of paper, did it, and I was able to witness him, you know, record that, and I was, you know, that was one of those moments I was like, is this really happening? Like, I'm sitting in the studio watching him in the booth, and I'm like, this is crazy, you know? And then, you know, and then the video was shot like in COVID.
Yeah.
And it was tricky. Like, I wasn't even supposed to leave my house. Like, I caught heat for going to that video, you know what I mean? Like, and I also hadn't got a haircut in like 6 months or something. So if you ever see the video, it's like my hair is like looking crazy, but we shot the video, and that was a blessing. And then I wound up seeing him later with Nori. He did a Drink Champs, and we were hanging with him. And then a couple weeks later, he passed. So
crazy,
you know.
I could just picture DMX speaking to you like, "Hey, yo, Scram, load the track up, Scram."
Yeah.
You know?
I was just honestly, I was more a fly in the wall. You know what I mean? Like the engineer everyone was handling everything, and I just sat back just in awe. Like I'm such a lucky guy right now that this is happening. You know, I did talk to him slightly, but you know, he's DMX. You know, I didn't have any long conversations.
Right. It's all good. It's all good. So you got the opportunity to be on the road a lot with Ross, the Locks, Dave East as well. Talk about being a DJ for artists and that whole experience. Is it any different preparation-wise, like between that and going to a club and doing a set? Like, how do you prepare for that?
The club I prepare. A lot of these artists don't tell you anything until you're backstage. And that could be like, because there's such...
What did you just sell first?
A lot of these guys have been doing hundreds and maybe thousands of shows.
Right.
They're not sweating it. It's a bag to them. But me, I'm like, I control everything. It's my responsibility. I want to be flawless. So a lot of times, you know, backstage, it happened at Coachella, I DJ'd for Ray and Ghost, and they're like telling me the set is like 50,000 people out there, and they're like, okay, we're going to do this. And I'm like looking at the crowd, I'm like, and then, you know, they throw me on stage and by myself, and I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to do an opening set, you know. I've had those moments, you know, and same thing with Rick Ross, like the Rick Ross thing happened. I'll just tell you how it happened. I went to the studio to play beats for him. And the manager at the time was Juan Madrid, you know.
Yeah, well, yep.
He's the one that actually had given me when I did that Mariah thing, I did a publishing deal with Sony, and he was the guy that signed me. So he was managing him, and Sam Sneak, his DJ, got caught with weed in Dubai last time. Actually twice, so they banned him for life. So it's like, because Dubai doesn't play with weed, you know. So I'm sitting there waiting to play beats for Ross, and he's like, yo, Scram, can you go to Dubai Friday? And I'm like, hell yeah. Meanwhile, my passport was expired, all that, and I just said yes. It was a whole mission to get the passport. And I went there, and, you know, Ross is super cool, you know. It was a vibe, and it was easy, you know, not easy, I don't say it's easy. I was still concerned that my computer wasn't gonna freeze, you know. I was like a little, but you know, he had me prepared, and I worked it out, and then I went to Dubai with him like 5 times after that, you know what I mean? Like, and that was dope, you know, and I was able to play beats for him too in that, and, you know, he picked some, nothing happened, but then, you know, stuff has happened too, like, I was in Toronto with Jada. My computer did freeze. While he was doing the Who Shot You thing from the verses, I was like, oh, shit. And that was like, you know, so you have, you know, and I was with Ross in Africa doing something, and something like, had a moment where I was like, oh shoot, this, you know. So it could be nerve-wracking, but you're able to travel, you're able to shadow them and see, kind of learn the ropes with the stage management or the rehearsal, their preparation, making sure you have the songs printed up. You know, as a DJ, you got to print up the songs ahead of time, put it on the stage, tape it for them. Yeah. You know, and just seeing their work ethic, and all of them that I work with were very professional, and I had fun traveling. I was blessed to just travel, you know.
Got to give my man his flowers while he's here, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's, even though he's still a young man in the game and still being creative every day,
course.
You know, he's done so many amazing things. You know, even as a friend, you look back and I was looking through his discography and I'm like, man, like I didn't even know he did that. Or, you know, like even with Ski, like sometimes you just don't realize because it's not always about the music when you get past a certain point with people. You know what I'm saying? We have real life conversations about health and eating and, you know, choices and about life and shit like that, family. So again, privileged to have the relationship with these guys, but I wanted to make sure that we honored you with the proper due. You know, you made such an impact on hip hop, whether you know it or not. This is my guy, Scram Jones. We're giving him the Triple Threat Award. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Let's get a quick flick.
And shout out to you, Hatch, for doing it. Let's applaud for Hatch for doing these
Appreciate
things,
it.
man.
Thank you so much.
I know you're an artist and you're kind of a producer, artist, songwriter too, but it's just your passion for the producer and giving them all these opportunities as songwriters. You got to be applauded too, bro. You've been doing this
Appreciate you,
forever.
man. Thank you.
Definitely.
Let's do a quick flick. Jay, you want to